I'm Stephanie Tatum here with the United States chapter of Women in Tech, and our second annual Water Month is in full swing. So in today's installment of our interview series, Talking to Women in Tech for Good, I'm speaking with Sarah Evans, the founder of WellAware and CEO of Well Beyond. Sarah has worked to change the way water projects are executed and managed in developing regions of the world through her two organizations, WellAware, which is an international nonprofit that funds and implements clean water systems for impoverished communities in Africa. And WellAware is known for their sustainability model and building lasting water systems with high impact. The second organization is Well Beyond, and it is a social enterprise providing expertise and tools to organizations and governments on water development and health initiatives. So Sarah, thank you so much for joining us.
I'm really honored to be here. Excited about the chat. Thank you.
Amazing. All right. Well, to kick things off, could you give us an overview of your background and how you entered the water sector?
Sure. Yeah. Let's see. How early should I start? I'll try to keep this brief, but it's interesting to note that I was actually born in rural Australia. My parents lived in a sort of a hippie community, and then we lived off the grid without running water or electricity. So that was the first 5 years of my life. So I think it's fun for me to note that I was only around like the basic necessities in my formative years. And then, we ended up in a small town in East Texas because my grandparents lived there. I went on to university at in Austin, University of Texas, and then on to law school. And I got my law degree, and then I worked in a securities firm doing SEC compliance and securities law. I moved back to Austin a couple years after that and worked in a law firm again, but with a focus on lobbying work. And in those years, I met a friend who had recently been to Kenya for the first time to meet her family, because her part of her family lives in Kenya and is from Kenya. And she came home and she said, I was just there and I saw how this part of my family is living in their Maasai, which is one of the predominant tribes in East Africa. And their cattle and goats were dying because of a really horrible drought back then in 2007. And she said, we really want to raise some money to replace some of these cattle and goats because it is their livelihood. And I wanted to get involved and help with the legal paperwork. And then I got even more involved, and I thought, well, you know what we should do is we should raise funds instead to drill a water well, because that was the root cause of the livestock issue, but also the root cause of so many other problematic things in these communities. And I convinced a small group of friends at the time to do that. And so that led to our very first water well in January of 2010. And I will readily admit these days that we got very lucky. And so it was a beautiful system. And so when I was on that first trip, it really did change my thoughts about the world and where my path would and should be. And so I pretty much dropped everything else at that time and got to work on figuring out how to do this work for a very long time, but also do it more responsibly, because as many people now know, most of these infrastructure projects in developing countries don't end up lasting very long time. So that wasn't exactly short, but that is how I got here today.
No, that's great backstory. And yeah, interesting how you kind of had that early exposure and your own experience with water, and then later on in your professional life kind of just fell into it. So awesome, yeah, to hear that origin story and just know where you guys are at today. I think, as you mentioned, a large percentage, I think 60% of water projects in Africa fail.
That's right.
The WellAware model has 100% success rate. So can you tell us? Yeah, so astounding, that difference. Kind of what you guys are doing differently. What are the challenges that often cause projects to fail? How do you overcome those?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's a lot of work, and we continue to learn, but we're very proud of that 100% success rate, especially since we're almost 13 years in now. And we are committed to that. Regardless of how much we scale, we are committed.
So yeah, so fantastic to hear that. And that, 13 years in, that's still the case. Very something to be proud of.
Thank you.
And I know the Well Beyond app has been developed out of your experience and your work in Africa. So can you tell us how it is using technology to really develop those systems, and if there are any specific technologies other than the app that you guys are using that help support long-term?
Yes, and thank you for the opportunity to talk about this. So I started Well Aware a decade and a half ago. And as I mentioned, after the first project, I redirected my entire life. A very big change financially and otherwise, but it really became what I live and I breathe. And I still will, I think, until the day that I die. And so as we continue to scale our work at Well Aware, I felt like there might be something more that the team and I could do to tackle this overall issue, which is that huge failure rate in the sector as a whole. Around the same time, Well Aware's projects and nonprofits projects were beginning to scale in a way that we were becoming a little bit concerned about how we were traveling around on a pretty regular basis to check on all of our project work. And at the same time, all of this digital connectivity is expanding exponentially. So it's a really fun statistic that more people on the continent of Africa have a cell phone than they have access to a toilet. So wow. The connectivity is really very available. We have this expertise and experience. And if we want to support Well Aware's growth, and we can also support other NGOs and their success rates and improving their impact, why don't we just send all of this knowledge and expertise into the hands of the people who are already holding a mobile phone? And so Catherine Bergman and I, who had been volunteering as an engineer for a long time already for Well Aware, we decided, well, let's just do that. Let's be a tech startup and make an app. And it's not that simple, is it? But we're so excited about the progress that we've made so far. The app has a really straightforward sort of decision tree troubleshooting feature so that communities can on their own troubleshoot issues they're having with their water system, which is their source of development and livelihood, as well as regular incremental maintenance and guidance and through maintenance checklists, which will absolutely help prevent bigger issues down the road. Now, what is interesting about this is it didn't already exist, which is interesting. Because the sector is huge. We make up a pretty big percentage of international development work, the water sector specifically, but nobody had yet come up with a tool leveraging the already existing digital landscape to be able to really put this power into the hands of our beneficiaries, which makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? Because we also know statistically that the more ownership communities have over their system, the more likely it is to actually be sustainable. So, we're a startup and we're still getting traction, but we're so excited about early results and really, really stoked to get this into the hands of more people.
Yeah, that's awesome that it's the technology in the hands of the people that are already in that community, and it's really making a difference. I know in a previous session, we talked to Lumbi Malambo, and she has also mentioned just the importance of, sharing those resources with other organizations that are doing similar work so that, you can really, really scale the impact.
Yeah, I'm excited.
So great to hear. And I know you guys recently completed your 100th water project, so you're now in the triple digits. What does that milestone mean for you?
It's so interesting that people have been asking that question, because naturally, once you get to 100, then it's time to reflect and think through things. But we do that always on a pretty daily basis. And I think we're already up to about 107 or 8 now, because we do now have the capacity to be able to scale a little bit more quickly because of the app, and then some other factors too. But to answer your question, I did almost force myself to take a moment and think about everything it has taken to get to where we are today and all the incredible people and support. But I have to admit that, it's just sort of in our organizational company DNA that we hit a milestone and then we all just get really enthusiastic about the next one. Right. So it was a really joyous moment, and we did indeed celebrate, but then we got to work on what's next.
Yeah, got to take some time to acknowledge it, but yeah, keeping focused on that mission and
lots more to do. Yeah,
definitely. And so for anyone listening, how can they get involved with WellAware's mission in the work that you're doing?
Gosh, so for WellAware, we have such an incredible team of people now supporting this work or executing on this work. We have a team in Austin, Texas, and then we have an even larger team now based in East Africa, which is really cool. And these brilliant team members have put together a lovely website that is the perfect place to go and find out how to support and learn more, and even find out more about the app, because the app did grow out of WellAware, but it is also available to any and all NGOs in any place in the world. And that website is wellawareworld.org. And you just go to how to get involved and you find your way.
Perfect. Yeah, I'm sure a ton of resources and ways for people that are at different levels and ability to contribute can do so.
All levels, all types of people, all demographics. As a matter of fact, it's a funny thing. The very first fundraiser that we ever had for the nonprofit 13 years ago, because I had the illegal background and no fundraising expertise whatsoever. None of us did, and we're young and scrappy, and we decided, why don't we go on a shower strike? Because they said, because Sarah doesn't shower anyway. Sort of a fun joke and a fun laugh, but we thought, oh wait, maybe we could actually do that. And we're in Austin, Texas, where they embrace the weird, and we just told our friends and family we're not going to shower again until we raise this money for this water system. And lo and behold, a couple of weeks later, we had done it. And so we continue to do that shower strike. Now it's a peer-to-peer, pretty slick system that you can join shower strike through. But it is such an easy way for literally anybody to get involved. You can be a second grader in a small town in Iowa, or an attorney in Sydney, Australia. It doesn't matter. You just join. You say you're going to do this weird thing, and then it benefits tons of communities after we have it every year in April.
Very cool. Yeah, that's a fun way and kind of a community builder also. And
yeah.
I have my hair washing schedule, so we all participate in some kind of shower strike. So
I have my dry shampoo schedule.
There you go. Awesome. Okay, well, want to wrap up our time together with a few rapid fire statements. So I'll say the intro and then you complete it with your answer. The first one is, success to me means
knowing that I'm making a difference in the world.
Love it. And second, I stay motivated by
taking the advice of my 10-year-old daughter.
Ooh, that's
really good on it. Yeah,
she's honest.
My cat.
Awesome. And last one, my work mantra is
life begins outside of your comfort zone.
Ooh, also great.
My favorite.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Sarah. We really appreciate you sharing your story and just a little bit more about your mission and, of course, your water expertise. And as we continue in this month of Women, Water, and Tech, we'll be hearing from some other team members from both WellAware and Well Beyond. So excited to share their insights on clean water and how we can just continue driving awareness and impact for this cause.
Thank you so much for helping us spread the word on these important matters, Stephanie. It's huge. Thank you.
Of course. And for anyone tuning in, we hope you walk away with a little more knowledge on the water sector, technology, and some inspiration to apply to your own work. As Sarah mentioned, you can find them at wellaware.org and
WellAwareWorld.org. Sorry.
WellAwareWorld.org.
WellAware was taken.
And you can also follow them on LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter. So wherever you are on social, please give them a follow. We're so grateful to have women in tech and women in tech that are doing good. So we can continue empowering more women and girls.